Our political director for George W. Bush, Matt Schlapp. He supports Donald Trump. Good morning, Matt.
Allison, how are you?
I'm doing well. Matt, what do you think of Donald Trump, of this whole issue about Alicia Machado being revisited and Donald Trump, once again saying that her weight was a real problem for him? He said it yesterday on Fox and Friends.
Can I take the politics side of it first, Allison?
Yeah.
I think when the Clinton campaign has turned this presidential race into Donald Trump versus some individual American out there, it's probably a smart tactic on their behalf, because then we're not talking about like the issues that face the country and the issues of the campaign, and we get into all these firefights about Donald Trump and his past, or Donald Trump getting into a fight with someone. So give the Clinton campaign some credit for bringing something up at the end of the debate that has us all talking about it. And I think, but when you look at the politics of this, it underscores her weakness, which is, why can't we talk about what the three things that the American people care about: the economy, fighting Islamic terrorism, and trying to fix Washington?
Yeah.
And I wish Hillary Clinton would focus on that, but she wants to focus on these other things because, quite honestly, her negatives are so sky high, she knows she has to change the topic.
Matt, what about your candidate? Don't you wish your candidate could focus on those things? He's
Yes.
the one that, once again, yesterday on a morning show, he went back to the narrative about Alicia Machado being overweight. Listen to this.
I know that person. That person was a Miss Universe person, and she was the worst we ever had. The worst, the absolute worst. She was impossible. And she was a Miss Universe contestant and ultimately a winner who they had a tremendously difficult time with as Miss Universe.
Did not know that story. Well, I didn't know it either.
She was the winner, and she gained a massive amount of weight, and it was a real problem. We had a real problem.
Okay, that was on Fox News, Matt. I don't hear him talking about substantive issues.
Yeah, Allison, I agree with your question. I think it would be better if we were to turn back to talk about the issues that face the American people. You know, I watched that debate the other night. I was actually there on the ground at Hofstra, and my impression was Donald Trump gets a lot of credit because when someone asks him a question, he tends to answer it. In politics, you know, we always teach candidates, don't answer every question. Talk about what you want to talk about. And in that debate, he actually answers a lot of questions. I think you know that. CNN knows that. He answers a lot of questions on CNN.
So why doesn't he? I mean, so Matt, that raises the question. Since all the advisors tell him, don't get tangled up in these sorts of side issues, yet he always does. What does that tell us about him?
He's authentic, Allison. You have to give him that. You ask him a question, he's got a strong opinion, he gives it. And sometimes in politics that results in a couple of days of talking about side stories. And I think very quickly, I don't think that debate or the talk of this woman is going to change much about the underlying dynamics of this race. I think it's a dead heat race. And I think at the end of the day, American voters aren't going to pull the lever on things like this. I think the American people are going to pull the lever on the substantive issues that face this country. And I think that's good.
Matt, I just have to ask you, because I know your lovely, smart, beautiful Hispanic wife, I just have to ask, what does Mercedes think about what Donald Trump said?
We talked.
Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about it last night. Yeah. We talked about, let me tell you, throughout this whole very interesting political year, we're often each other's counselor at the end of the day when interesting things happen on the trail. And I guess her reaction was, she's in the news business, Allison, as you are. And it's not uncommon for women and men, but a lot of times women, let's face it, in the news business or in the acting business, to have actual language in their contracts, that their physical appearance has to maintain some kind of standard. And people might not like that, but it's in contracts. And I'm not going to ask people if it's in their contracts or not, but she understands that. Is it fair? Is it not fair? Let's face it, Miss Universe pageants, movies, it's a lot about their physical appearance. Allison, I can tell you in my case, thank God I don't have that, because that's not exactly one of my strengths in life.
Hey,
I don't love the fact that we focus on that.
Don't sell yourself short, Matt. But I mean,
nice.
But your wife, but Mercedes didn't see this as an ethnic slur. The fact that Alicia says
she's
that
insulted
he called her
by
Miss
that.
Housekeeping.
No, she's insulted by that. She said if you're going to run in a Miss Universe pageant, you have to understand that part of getting that crown is the fact that you're physically attractive. Now, come on, let's all be candid here. People who are beautiful get involved in Miss Universe pageants, and part of that is their physical appearance. And I think this is when it gets to like common sense. People in America have been watching pageants for decades, and they understand that's a part of it. It's a part of the culture. Is that a culture that my wife has been involved with? No. But you have every right to be involved in that culture if you want. And if you sign a contract, you got to follow it.
Okay, let's talk about the debate. The polls, the scientific polls, suggest that Hillary Clinton won. Donald Trump had a strong first half an hour, and then Hillary Clinton closed the deal with the rest of the time. But Donald Trump is not seeing it that way today. How did you see the debate?
I thought he did have a very strong first 35 minutes. I thought his answer on stop and frisk was great. I do think the moderator asked him tougher questions. He got 6 follow-up questions. Hillary Clinton got 0 follow-up questions. He went right into the question of where Obama was born. He went right into the taxes, which are fair questions to ask, but I didn't, as a partisan Republican, I didn't see those kind of tough questions from the moderator directed at Hillary Clinton. So he had a very strong beginning of the debate. I think at the end of the day, the debate is not going to change the underlying dynamics of this race. Most of the online polls and media polls I have looked at, I know CNN is an outlier here, showed that he did very well.
Well, that's because those are the unscientific polls. Those are surveys. Those are where anybody can just, they're not vetted, the ones that you're talking about and he's talking about. CNN does a scientific poll.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing CNN's poll. All I'm saying is that there were other ways that demonstrate that he did well, just like in the primary debates. I mean, Allison, a lot of my friends in the Republican kind of circles in Washington, D.C. would look at his performance in some of these primary debates and scratch their head and say he didn't do very well. Yeah. And then you would see that a lot of online polls show he did do well, and then the polls would actually help him. And I think one thing I saw at the debate on Monday is that the #1 issue in every poll, including all of CNN's scientific polls, is jobs in the economy. And he owned that issue from the beginning to the end. And the talk of taxes, regulation, the effect of
not a lot
trade
of talk
deals.
About a plan, but yeah, I hear you, Matt. You are a good surrogate for him in terms of what you heard at the debate. Thank you very much, and thanks for sharing your marital chats with us also. Tell Mercedes we said hi.
Don't get me in trouble, okay?
Got it. Thanks.